Sturgeon fishing for 2 days was actually insane. So we're all in college, and me, Hirsch, Brendan, and Cam saw this guy named Eve on Instagram. He's caught some of the biggest fish I've ever seen in my life, and this fish was the sturgeon. The sturgeon's a fish like no other. It's a prehistoric giant. It has absolute pure strength, weight, muscle, and speed. We were so excited to actually catch one of these prehistoric beasts. Not only that, we also wanted to experience the beautiful scenery from the birds to the mountains to the mighty river. And in literally 5 minutes of fishing, I hooked up on my first sturgeon, and I was so beyond excited, like it's indescribable. Eve was saying how this was just a little guy, and I couldn't imagine what a bigger one could feel like. But just to have this first fish knocked off my first ever sturgeon, it was beyond belief. You could tell this thing was a dinosaur. Like, it was the coolest thing ever. Now, my friend named Hirsch, he has never been fishing before besides catching a bluegill. So the fact that he hooked into a sturgeon before even catching a bass was like out of a movie. Just the pure excitement that Hirsch felt was unreal. And then Brendan, at the same time Hirsch was reeling in that fish, another sturgeon picked up another rod and Brendan was hooked up. And again, my fish was pretty small and this one was a little smaller, but Hirsch was actually so excited and I wish you could be there to see it. What was crazy was we were only fishing for about 25-30 minutes and already two prehistoric beasts. One of my favorite parts was Eve was one of the nicest guys ever, but also one of the most knowledgeable guys ever, teaching us how to fight the fish, the facts about the fish, tagging the fish, releasing it the proper way, handling it the right way. The guy is a sturgeon connoisseur. We were just so obsessed with the thrill of these fish, and with Brendan being hooked up on an absolute monster, we were breath taken away. This was the biggest one of the day so far, but honestly, it was just a reflection of the true giants that were to come. And then there was our good buddy Cam, who edits for Beyond Braid, and he's from Arkansas, and he mainly bass fishes a lot, so he was actually so taken away by this true, just beast-like nature of the sturgeon. One of the craziest moments of this was when the fish surfaced for the very first time, and we saw its magnitude and just overall strength of the biggest one of the day. Cam was so out of breath, and we were all just starstruck at this fourth giant of the day in about an hour and a half of fishing, and we still had the rest of the day. What I found the most interesting part about the sturgeon was the fact that they tag them all the time, and it's a running record, even hundreds of years, people tagging and tracking these fish to make sure that they're healthy and maintained, and they look at the patterns and they log the fish, and it's a whole community. And this was really that first big fish where the four of us ignited and we're just so happy and joyful and starstruck that we were just so blessed with the moment to fish like this. We took a little break, but sturgeon number 5 was then hooked up, which we were just blown away because we didn't even know if we were going to catch one, yet 5 in like close to 2.5 hours of fishing. This one absolutely peeling, like the feeling's like no other. This type of fishing is something out of a movie because you're looking at a mountain, you're looking at a snow-covered mountain on a beautiful river with eagles flying over your head, dinosaurs being caught, good times happening, like core memories that are going to last a lifetime were now being led. Even when the sturgeon surfaces to the top, it almost is like, okay, now it's time for round 2. And the thing makes another huge run in that deep river, and you got to work it all the way back. I got in the water with this thing and I was actually blown away because the sheer size of this thing was just astronomical. But not only that, it's beautiful. The adrenaline rush and the joy and the peace and the gratitude flowing from all of us on this trip was just like we've never experienced it before. You get to catch a big fish, but that's only the first part. The core memories and the sheer emotion and the experience overall is what really, I think, drives us to come back. So we were all really tired at this point of the day, and Hirsch was on with another monster. Rain started to come down a little more, and he was really, really tired. But that's the thing about fishing these type of waters with these type of fish. The battle really doesn't end. And I think that's really a special part about sturgeon fishing. This kid has never caught a bass before, yet pulls in the biggest and the most beautiful sturgeon of day one. The white patterns on this thing were crazy. With the designs on the fin, they looked like QR codes, and it was just one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Now I want to shout out Brendan, because Brendan, like, he's the kid that wants to catch that monster fish. He absolutely loves the adventure and that thrill and the adrenaline rush. And this trip and this fish definitely met those expectations. This one didn't put up an insane fight, but it was absolutely breathtaking. When the rain settled down, things were starting to wind down a bit. This thing surfaced right to the water, and this was Brendan's first kind of real experience holding a true monster for himself. You know, being from Indiana, he really doesn't experience all that type of big fishing, and this was all new for all of us. So it was really a crazy moment to experience. So at this point of the day, we made our way to a clear part of the river. Now, what was crazy was the water we were fishing before was super murky. This was crystal clear, and that sturgeon put on a show for us. This was Cam's second fish of the day, one of the biggest ones, but I think the coolest part of this catch was with the mountains in the background, with the absolute clear blue water. That was one of the most beautiful scenic things you could ever see. Just to see the pure size of this creature in this clear blue water, I'm telling you, it was one of the most scenic and beautiful nature moments I've ever experienced. But day one was actually breathtaking for us, and we didn't expect about 8 sturgeon and multiple other hookups all at the same time. It was truly a moment to remember, and that's what fishing's about, and that's what we're about at Beyond Braid, creating those moments that last a lifetime, that just go beyond the braid, beyond the big fish, and really creating those core memories that last a lifetime. But day 2 rolled around, much better conditions. We weren't even expecting to fish a second day, but Brendan was like, "We're here, we might as well fish." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." So we hit up Eve, and he had another day open, and literally in 10 minutes of fishing, we got multiple bites, but Brendan got hooked up on the first one of the day. What I love about this kind of fishing is that it is a waiting game. However, there's really not much waiting at the end of the day, because it's nonstop action, nonstop big fish. Like, there's never a dull moment. You know, whether you're casting lures or just sitting and waiting, fishing's one of those things that I love, because like either of those scenarios, you're making the memories that last a lifetime and are going to be forever implanted in your mind. This was the biggest one of the day though for me. 8'1" sturgeon, and it was the biggest of the trip, which was just an insane moment, and I was just so grateful. The pure joy and just amazement and reverence and awe we had in this trip was just beyond belief. You know, after that it was just nonstop action. Hirsch was hooked up again, Cam was getting hooked up again, Brendan doubled up. Like, what was crazy is we were looking at the side scan, and you can see hundreds of sturgeon just sitting on the bottom. But what's really interesting, Eve was explaining how they pick up the bait, but sometimes they don't really grab it. Like, they kind of pick it up and then spit it out, and if that hook doesn't really get their mouth, you're kind of in a tough position. That's why you have to set the hook so hard. But day 2 lived up to day 1, and I think it was even better at times. Like, we knew what we were getting into today, and we just wanted to experience it all the more. And that's one of the coolest parts of fishing, is like you can always go back out and get back to the grind. But then I think one of the main highlights of this trip was the last catches of the day, where Brendan and I hooked up. And like, Brendan, funny enough, Brendan and I actually met about 2 months before this trip. So Hirsch was friends with Brendan, and then I was friends with Hirsch, and he kind of brought us together. And I feel like this moment bonded us so much, hooking up on big fish, and then being able to battle it, to share that joy, to share that passion, and then get in the water with these two beasts was just, it was a core memory that's going to last a lifetime. You know, reflecting on day one and going into day two and ending it off, like, we just come to the conclusion that setting up that fishing trip with your friends to go catch that fish that you've always wanted to catch, to go to that place you've always wanted to go, is really what the fishing is about. Catching the big fish is always a plus, it's always a bonus. We love that, and that's really what kind of is the foundation for the rest of the mission. But ultimately, fishing is it's a memories mission, and getting those core memories with your friends and just bonding and sharing that experience, it's like no other. But like the 2 day sturgeon fishing in Vancouver might be one of the most crazy epic fishing trips that I've ever done, not only for the big fish but just for the overall experience and the memories. Like, it was truly one to remember and truly helped me go beyond the braid, beyond the big fish, and really make those memories that last a lifetime.